target, engage, nurture, and then eventually convert, and then build a loyalty and advocacy. If this is the funnel, where do you see generative AI, which is the elephant in the room now and everybody is talking about it, playing a larger role?
I think generative AI has created a generational advantage for marketers, and it applies equally in all stages of the marketing funnel.
Welcome to Conversions Conundrums. This is a new series brought to you by Economic Times Brand Equity. Here in this series, we will decode the nuances of B2B marketing and how our marketers actually dealing with the challenges in this fraternity. Today with us, we have Mr. Arun Pattabhiraman. He is the CMO of Sprinklr. Thank you very much, Arun, for your time. First of all, I would like to know from you, is it the complexities of a business buyer that makes B2B completely different from B2C?
The world of B2B marketing is completely different from that of B2C for various reasons. One, obviously, the decision making is not happening at an individual level.
Correct.
It's, the decision making power is distributed across different sets of people at different levels in the organization. So that makes the buying process fairly complex. Second, the channels that you have at your disposal are vastly different, right? In the case of B2C, you have access to millions of consumers that you can target on any one platform. In the case of B2B, you're probably going after a finite set of accounts that you want to convert, who you believe is your ideal customer profile.
Yeah.
So managing that motion effectively becomes extremely important. And third, I think, is just the nature of campaigns that you would create and how you would handhold the customer along the entire customer journey.
Correct.
Right? It's not that in the case of a direct-to-consumer brand, you're practically able to reach to the consumer, sell them a product, and convert them in that moment. Whereas in the case of B2B, the entire journey doesn't end or begin with just customer acquisition.
Right? Fantastic. You mentioned about the cycle, the sales cycle being longer. So what is your technique to actually nurture them at various stages?
I think the first thing is to realize that 95% of B2B buyers are not looking for a product at any point in time.
Okay.
Right? So how do you as a brand or a technology company stay relevant for that kind of an audience so that when the time comes, when they're actually looking for a product or solution, you're in the consideration set. So when people are, if you're a leader in a technology company responsible for buying technology products, right? In the initial stages, you're not looking for a product. You're probably just looking to be successful in your role, in your career. So that means that you want to learn about how you can be a better leader in your business. You want to know what are the trends and technologies shaping the industry that you're a part of. I think at that moment, the value that you provide as a company should be educational, informational content.
Correct.
Right? You need to be able to educate them and stay relevant to them so that they understand you're solving a real business problem and creating content that educates them around that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're actually in the process of, I have a huge problem, I'm looking for a new product or a tool, then you need to make sure that the platforms on which they are researching about various tools and technology, you are relevant and you're present on those channels and you have relevant content, right? And you manage your reputation proactively on those platforms. Today, for instance, most of the decision making is fragmented, right? It's not just the senior decision makers who make the final decision, but there are also practitioners and end users who have a very, very strong point of view on what tools they want to use.
Correct.
So in some way, the decision making process is getting democratized. So in that sense, when users are researching new tools, they often go to peer review sites.
Yeah.
They go to G2 Crowd, they go to Capterra, Trust Radius, etc. And you need to make sure that your community of people, your target audiences, has positive perception of your brand.
Correct.
So how do you influence reviews on that platform, etc. And once they actually come to your website, because you've targeted them on so many of these platforms, then you make sure that you're serving the right content to them through personalization, and you have the right tools and technology to actually convert them. So be it chatbots or conversational AI deployment on your website, how do you move them? So that journey needs to be orchestrated based on where the consumer is or where the buyer is at that point in the journey.
And you mentioned another point about lead generations. Do you have your favorite channels when it comes to generating leads for B2B enterprise solutions that you provide?
I think B2B lead generation tactics are not one size fit all, right? You need to really keep in mind a couple of things. One is which segment of customers you're going after. Are you going after SMB or small and medium businesses that are looking to purchase a tool off the shelf, or are you selling a complex, large-scale enterprise solution that is going to be deployed across thousands of people in a big company? And depending on which segment you're targeting, your go-to-market motion can be vastly different. For instance, if you take the case of a mom-and-pop store which is looking to buy an accounting software, right? Predominantly the decision is going to be made by that one individual.
Correct.
Right? They start their journey by actually researching online on Google. They would understand from their peers what tools they are using, and then they would actually buy the product. So if you're targeting SMB customers, then your marketing motion has to be predominantly inbound. Correct. So you would heavily optimize for SEO, content marketing, making sure that your paid search campaigns are effective, and obviously a presence on LinkedIn and other platforms is optimized. If you are selling into the large enterprises, then your go-to-market motion and your marketing motion has to be dramatically different. Their brand becomes extremely important, and the credibility that you build around the brand becomes extremely important.
Correct.
So there you would actually invest in brand marketing. You would invest in industry thought leadership programs to build that credibility. You would have a more elaborate analyst and influencer marketing program to make sure that you're building that credibility. Not only that, you will have a lot of high-touch programs such as field events, trade shows, etc., where you can engage with customers at a deeper level. So depending on which segment of customers you're going after,
correct,
you would have a different strategy. The same thing applies to what stage the company is in. Now, if you're a startup which is just looking to launch a product and you haven't even figured out your product market fit, you probably don't need many marketing channels. All you need is your initial set of customers, and you want to ensure that you have positive experience with those customers, and you invest in creating word of mouth.
Correct.
Right? Whereas if you have a fully scaled marketing organization in a B2B setup, then you have to have a multi-channel marketing approach. So I think a lot of these factors come into play, and depending on which you would kind of create the right marketing strategy.
Yeah, there is no clear favorite. It's clear. One more thing I would like to understand from you: if we say that target, engage, nurture, and then eventually convert, and then build a loyalty and advocacy. If this is the funnel, where do you see generative AI, which is the elephant in the room now, and everybody is talking about it, playing a larger role?
I think generative AI has created a generational advantage for marketers, and it applies equally in all stages of the marketing funnel. And I personally believe it's no longer funnel, it's a flywheel. Because your job as a marketer doesn't end with just converting a customer, but actually turning them into an advocate, which in turn can generate awareness and demand. So from my perspective, if you think about generative AI, today, generative AI can reduce the time to market by allowing you to execute comprehensive competitive research and consumer research, right? Which until now would have taken a lot of time. For instance, my product marketers at Sprinklr, they extensively use ChatGPT and generative AI tools to really understand what competitors are doing, right? And what customer reviews on third-party platforms look like, and to derive our own messaging, positioning, and strategy. Second is, from the perspective of campaign creation and content creation and design perspective, I think generative AI has completely transformed the way we can create creatives at scale today. Right? So even for content marketing teams, creating the first draft of content is now far more easier with generative AI, provided you train it on your own brand voice and your brand messaging.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you here, actually. For example, in Unified CXM that you promote very aggressively, being Sprinklr, will you rely on a generative AI to give you the content for it, or will you rather feed the initial piece of content and then expect a more structured response from the tool?
See, I've always held that we often underestimate the value of human intellect. So I don't think generative AI is completely going to replace the need for human supervision when it comes to creating content or design or strategy or anything that might be. But definitely generative AI can help you reduce the time to market, which is in creating your first draft of content and then iterating over that and creating what you finally need, right? So for me, how do you complement human skills with generative AI is far more important than looking at generative AI as a panacea for all problems that marketers face.
Despite the implementations of the technologies that we have seen, several analytical tools you all have invested into to measure ROI. And whenever we talk marketing these days, ROI is the term that comes out. So what are the challenges that you face in measurement and attribution when it comes to B2B marketing?
I think the first one is really setting expectations both internally and externally on the mandate for marketing, right? Like I said, depending on the company, depending on the stage at which the company is, the mandate for marketing could look very different.
Yeah.
But a true sophisticated state-of-the-art marketing organization needs to take responsibility for KPIs across all stages of the customer lifecycle. So first is getting on the same page with the rest of the C-suite, be it your CEO, your CFO, or your chief revenue officer, on what is the mandate for marketing and what metrics they need to really be held responsible for. The second is to be able to thoughtfully create programs across to impact each of these metrics, right? And the third one is really how do you track these metrics? And this is where a lot of companies struggle, primarily because of the same issue that I just spoke about, which is the disparate tools they use to track different parts of their customer experience, and that means data is completely siloed, and you cannot, even from a marketing perspective, create that holistic journey or a picture of what's happening with customers without bringing all these data together. So if you have the right KPIs and that marketing needs to impact, and in my opinion, it absolutely needs to straddle across awareness till advocacy. And it can't stop with acquisition. And then getting on the same page with the rest of the board and the C-suite on what metrics need to be impacted by marketing and to what extent. And then you have the infrastructure to measure, track, and attribute the ROI. I think when you go through that process in a really structured way, I think it becomes very easy for marketing to demonstrate the value of their work. And I don't think CMOs or marketing teams can really relax by thinking of themselves as just a pure brand enabler. When in reality today, more and more, marketing is becoming a strategic driver of growth.
Fantastic. Last question from my end, Arun, before we let you go. To sum it up all, what is it, the opportunity that you see that excites you the most about B2B marketing, and what is the challenge that keeps you awake at night?
I mean, I think we spoke about this, and it comes as no surprise, right? Generative AI has created a generational advantage for marketers, right? So that is super exciting because, like I said, all the way from market research to creative and campaign development to personalization to and content creation, generative AI unlocks a whole new capabilities for marketers, right? And that's super exciting. And personally, everyone at Sprinklr, all the marketers at Sprinklr are actively leveraging generative AI. But what's keeping me up at night is also generative AI, because I think it is one technology that is still yet to reach a certain level of maturity, and without having the right guardrails around how you deploy generative AI, that the output from those tools can go rogue. Right? So making sure that teams and people are leveraging generative AI ethically, in a way that does not compromise security and privacy of either our own data or our customers' data, making sure all of that is adhered to while still unlocking the true potential of generative AI. I think that is going to be the biggest challenge, and I think that's what keeps me up at night as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Arun, for explaining these nuances. That was the CMO of Sprinklr, decoding the tenets of B2B marketing. Until next time, see you soon.